Hi, Alan Stratton here from costmatters.com. Of all the activities of modern business, communication is one of the most basic. Communication is essential between businesses, between stakeholders, between employees, whether they be managers or frontline workers. However, there are many barriers to effective communication. One of the most significant barriers is that different portions of the business communicate very differently than others. They have a different dialect or a different whole language. So just as different nations speak different languages, it seems at times that different functions within the same business also speak different languages. Materials management uses different terms and has different priorities than engineering. Similarly, sales, marketing, and customer service also seem to speak seemingly different languages. Oftentimes you need a dictionary. To complicate matters even further, upper management speaks a different language than frontline workers. So, how do we get over this? How do we encourage better communication, especially within the walls of the business? Of course, we want to encourage listening and understanding and empathy, but often we really need more. For spoken languages, we use people or translators who speak and understand both languages to facilitate communication between nations. What can we use to facilitate communication within the business? Now, money talks, or so I've been told. How does money talk? I've never heard it. It doesn't actually talk. However, everyone uses money in their daily lives and thereby has some understanding of its value. Modern society functions because money has been standardized as a medium of exchange. There's no need to barter farm produce for gasoline. And even if money is denominated in a different currency, such as the euro or the yen, there are established means to exchange euros for dollars or yen for euros or whatever. So we can use, and we do use, money to communicate within a business. And we actually do this now. We convert our functional languages of units produced or number of worker hours or tons of raw material, etc., to monetary terms. And in fact, the ultimate measure of business success is ongoing profitability, measured, of course, in monetary terms. But we need to be more effective. So how do we use money to communicate more effectively inside business operations? One idea: how about letting finance and accounting handle internal communications? We often think of finance accounting as the keepers of the business money. However, handing all monetary communication over to them is really an abdication of management responsibility. Why not? Don't they use money in their reports? Yes, they do. But finance and accounting has the same barriers to communication that inhibit all other functional groups. They have their own dictionaries, whatever. Within finance and accounting, and especially, there are two primary disciplines. One is financial accounting and the other is managerial accounting. And over the past century, financial accounting has had, by far, the most emphasis. So, over this time, standards and principles have been evolved to facilitate financial accounting. Perhaps you've heard of them. One is GAAP, or GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. Over the same period of time, these standards and principles have also been applied to managerial accounting. Very poorly, I may add. However, these standards and principles serve a different set of stakeholders, namely those external to the business. That's why they do a horrible job of servicing internal stakeholders or the functional groups and managerial levels. Rather than external standards, we really need a different set of standards and principles for our internal communication. Activity-based cost, or ABC, is a set of principles and standards whose prime purpose is to facilitate communication within the business. And in this case, rather than relying on external bodies to formulate standards, we are free to create those standards that will serve our own business. And in this case, Common definitions or templates are established between functional groups of the business and between frontline workers and upper management. The lowest common denominator, or unit, is the activity performed within the various functional group. More than one. Then from these activities, we link them together into cross-functional processes. We trace the cost incurred by the business functions to their activities to provide their monetary perspective. When we add these up by the various processes, we get a process cost perspective. At the same time, using common sense and cause and effect principles, activity cost is assigned to products, services, customers, and this provides a monetary view of them. Now, ultimately, when compared to revenue, we have a profit perspective of different products, customers, and services. So now that we have a monetary means to communicate within the business, we can now leave this to accounting to manage this communication medium. Ha! No way. Given the importance of communication, it cannot be left exclusively to accounting or any one functional group. This communication is the responsibility of each and every function. And as is the nature of communication between human beings, communication barriers continually reappear. Ongoing diligence and attention is required by all parties, not just one, but all parties, to knock down these barriers as fast as they appear. This is everyone's duty. Now, I'm sure you've had plenty of experiences communicating within your company. Please share them below. To your business profitability, I'm Alan Stratton from costmatters.com, and thank you.